On Company Options Receivables tab, you have an option to change your aging buckets as is required by your company. Then on Reference Number Checking, you may disable Reference Number Checking, issue a warning on duplicates on sales order or invoices, or produce an error whereby the transaction will not be recorded. On freehand codes, you may choose that the system work out a markup percentage or use a margin percentage. A markup percentage is the difference between the actual cost and the selling price, whereby a margin percentage is the difference between the selling price and the profit. You may also change the default percentage rate for either of these two options. You may then choose the applicable one to use for your business. The next option is for handling blank reference numbers. Do you want to allow them, give a warning, or give an error whereby the transaction will not be recorded? Also, for blank credit note reason codes, you should specify whether to allow, give a warning, or give an error. On default credit control for new customers, the interest rate per annum can be changed. And also be advised that Palladium calculates the interest rate and divides it by the number of days in a year, which then gives you the daily interest rate. Then the invoiced amount is multiplied by the daily interest rate to give you a daily penalty charge that the customer is incurring. That daily penalty charge is multiplied by the number of days overdue and then is added on to the invoice amount. The default credit control for new customer section also handles the default credit limit for customers, which you may change. You may also change the default number of days required for a sales invoice. The option to allow receipts on invoice entry means that Palladium does not restrict you to only process to customers on account. You may process transactions that are cash, EFT, or check, whereby you also have an option to change the bank account that you are receiving the money into. This also minimizes user processing errors in that the user doesn't have to process the invoice, go out of the system, or rather go out of the invoice and process a receipt. Everything is done at the point of processing. The next option, to require administrator level on invoice adjustment, means that a user without administrator rights will have to get a supervisor or an administrator to authorize adjusting an invoice. You may also block your invoice entry to the current session date. And on the next screen, you may also enforce the option to require administrator level on invoice credit notes, which means that users without an administrator level of permissions will not be able to process a credit note. On credit request, a credit request is a facility that Palladium gives you whereby an item is validated if it can be returned by the user. For example, checking the warranty if it's still within the warranty terms, or rather the return terms of the sale. Then on document processing, you may choose standard and click on OK.